I am so tired of Siri not working well. So tell us about your exclusive.
I think, well, it's actually amazing. I was thinking about it the other day. Siri launched all the way back in 2011, right? Which means it's been out for 15 years. And it feels like it's worse now, 15 years later. Maybe that's a combination of our expectations, a combination of what the alternatives are at this point, and just lots of legacy bloat on top of Siri. But it's in a really terrible place right now. And you look at what OpenAI is doing. If you've used ChatGPT voice mode, you look at what Microsoft has done with Copilot, you look what Google has done with Gemini. Apple has lost in the race for basically the next internet. And we're still only in this three years in. So it's quite embarrassing. Their comeback tour begins this year. Part one is going to kick off in a few weeks from now when they introduce the version of Siri that they launched actually in 2024 at WWDC. This new version of Siri adds a few features. It can take in commands based on things it sees on your screen. It can tap into personal data on your phone or iPad or Mac or on your Apple account. And it can do more advanced actions across apps. That'll launch in iOS 26.4. It'll use a Google Gemini model. And then in the falls, when we get the good stuff, it's a re-architected, rebuilt version of Siri for the ChatGPT era. It looks and feels and acts like a chatbot. So from that standpoint, they'll be there too where the companies are today, but who knows where OpenAI will be by the end of the year.
Mark, one thing that I love using Claude and ChatGPT for is like uploading a picture of something complicated and having it explain it to me, whether that's like an electrical meter in a home, for example, and explaining all the dials and what they mean. Is that the type of thing that Siri is going to be able to do?
Well, right now, the iPhone can actually do that with a feature called Visual Intelligence, and it taps into both Google Search as well as ChatGPT to do that. But the interface is wonky. It doesn't have a conversational view. You can't ask follow-up questions. It's honestly kind of worthless for most use cases, especially the ones that you're talking about where you really are trying to get something done in the home or what have you, or recipes or whatever. But yeah, this new version of Siri will have that conversational view, that back and forth ability, talking about the one coming out in September. And so, yeah, you'll be able to do that for sure, powered by Gemini.
Big step. Is this something that moves the needle for Apple, Mark, or is it just a case of finally getting it right? And that's important.
It's both. It moves the needle because it is finally getting it right. Apple had to fold here. They had to basically give up on their internal models and go with an external partner. They had no choice. Their backs were against the wall, and they did the right thing. Their bet is that they're a product company, and 99.9% of consumers don't care who's powering the technology. They kind of just want it to work. And so 15 years later, the hope is that it just kind of works.
Are we going to hear anything on earnings? Like, I am thinking about earnings next week. I mean, shares of Apple have been lagging the Mag 7 and certainly some of its big tech peers. I mean, is this what they talk about on earnings, or is it, once again, Apple phone sales? Like, what is it next week that's important?
I mean, next week is going to be all about iPhone sales and Mac sales and AirPod sales. You know, they're probably going to hit their first 135 billion, 140 billion plus quarter. And so from a stock sales perspective, it's a bit of a head scratcher for me why the stock has been down. I mean, you're basically buying the stock or keeping the stock because you think the revenue is going to be great. And the revenue is going to be great. And it's eclipsing all of these other companies that we're talking about, no matter how great their AI advances are. You'll hear Tim Cook give multiple shout outs to their AI initiatives and some great stuff they have coming this year. And in the future, you'll hear him give shout outs about the product roadmap for 2026 and 2027 and beyond, trying to get investors excited. They know every time they drop the AI or machine learning buzzwords, people go wild. And that does great for the stock. You'll hear them talk about India and some all-time records there. So they'll hit all the right notes, I'm sure.
Mark, in the last minute we have with you, I want to talk a little bit about who the next CEO at Apple is going to be. Tim Cook.
They won't talk about that on the earnings.
They will not talk about that, but you will talk about that with us, I think. Tim Cook, 65 years old. He turned 65 in November. He's been CEO since 2011. John Ternus, you reported that his role has been expanded in a signal of CEO candidacy. Is he the next CEO at Apple?
I think he's the next CEO of Apple. But let me give you this big caveat. There have been some reports from the Financial Times and elsewhere indicating that Tim Cook is planning to step down this year. As I've been saying all along, I think that's hogwash. I don't think Tim Cook is stepping down unless there's something unexpected that happens anytime soon. I certainly don't believe he's planning to step down in the first half of this year, as the FT said. I think it's a insane assertion, to be quite honest with you. Tim is 65. You have Jamie Dimon, who's nearly 70. You've got Bob Iger, who's nearly 73. I think all things considered, Tim Cook is probably on some similar trajectory.
Okay.
No matter what anyone outside the company has to say about it.
Okay.
But Ternus, at some point,